last time on Extra Good.
If you missed our last episode on getting a road trip ready in our 57, we went over the details of everything we were going to modify and why before we went on our great Route 66 road trip. This episode, we'll put that work to the test.
What is that feeling when you're driving away from people and they recede on the plane till you see their specks dispersing? It's the two huge worlds vaulting us, and it's goodbye. But we lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies.
Welcome back to Extra Good. We just got back from our Route 66 road trip.
Yeah, that was fun. We got to see all sorts of cool stuff. We got to be really stressed out about an old car for like 30,000 miles, so that was cool.
We're going to tell you guys all about our trip, and we're going to share with you how all of our modifications to our 1957 Ford did along the way.
She did great.
So did I. Route 66 runs from Chicago to Santa Monica. It was a road first commissioned in 1926, began to be built. This was before our interstate highways across the country, so it really connected Eastern Midwest to the West Coast. It was a road that a lot of people migrated to the West on, then leading into World War II, got a ton of traffic and people traveling it through the 50s with all of the hotels and roadside adventures. It's really just a center of Americana and our history and love for the road, being able to see so many different parts of the country.
There are kind of two distinct legs of Route 66. There's the stretch that goes kind of from Chicago to Oklahoma, so that's your north-south. And then there's Oklahoma to Santa Monica, which is your east-west. The east-west one kind of travels and kind of weaves across, back and forth across the 40 interstate. And for the most part, Route 66 just kind of parallels a major interstate that we have now, the 40. So that route is fun. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can peel off of and see, but you can really just get back on 40 and take the faster, bigger, better road. You don't have to drive all of Route 66 because it's right there. You can see it. It's next to the highway. It's just, there it is.
Being from California, we've traveled the 40 a handful of times and know a lot, though I think we saw sites that we hadn't seen before.
So many things just on that east-west stretch. There's Blue Hole, which is awesome. It's a natural feature bubbling up with fresh water. It's amazing, right? You can scuba dive in it. It's 100 feet deep. Winslow, Arizona is freaking rad. I love going through Winslow. The La Posada Hotel is probably one of the coolest hotels you can ever stay at.
Oh, the Grand Canyon Caverns.
Yeah.
Which was on a great little stretch of the 66, which that section in Arizona, there is a great section that leaves the highway. There was the Sidewinder section, 191 turns and 8 miles. 0 guardrails.
It was awesome. That was great in a 50s car with no seat belts, but cool.
But the Grand Canyon Caverns, it's not actually in the Grand Canyon, it's caverns. It might be connected, there are theories.
It's a marketing name.
But it was definitely worth a stop.
Yeah, the cavern was very cool. Check that out if you haven't seen it or know about it.
There was all of the little cool places to stop, the Wigwam hotels, the little tchotchke stores, really cool old gas stations. The one in Shamrock, Texas was our favorite.
Yeah.
It's kind of what the ones from Cars was modeled after.
Very cool gas station. You'd recognize it, I believe, from the Huna Truck video. Cool to see that, like as a gearhead. You're like, oh, I've seen a car video, like here, neat, you know? I love seeing the old Route 66 buildings and how they've kind of become dilapidated. But then you would see one right next to it, which is built at the same time where it's still in good shape and it's still in use. And it makes you like, oh, I wish those old ones were still alive, you know? It's a cool trip.
We like to restore things.
Yeah, we love bringing things back to life. In that first episode, there was a lot of work that we were about to start doing. We got it all done, We'll show some of that work as we go. The whole reason though was to go on this grand road trip. Tell me about the road trip, Kristin. What was this all about?
Going on the Nitto Great American Road Tour down Route 66. The group started in Chicago at the start of Route 66.
Did we go to Chicago?
We were a little bit greedy in how much work we chewed off in such a short timeline leaving for this trip. A couple days late, but we're ready to leave. Didn't know if this time would ever come, but I'm excited to get out there, and we got a lot of fucking work done. A lot. We might have been a little optimistic, idealistic, and just overexcited about the amount that we chose to do before this road trip. We did not make it to Chicago.
We didn't make it to Chicago, and we didn't make it to St. Louis, and we didn't make it to Springfield. But we did make it to Oklahoma City, albeit a day late, but we made it to Oklahoma City. That wasn't our fault. When you're working on cars, stuff always ends up taking longer than it needs to take. Plus, there's unforeseen, I don't know, what's the best way to put it?
Situation.
Yeah, so things happen, which will delay you, but we powered through. There were times where I was like, I wanted to give up. I just wanted to quit. But we kept working, we kept chugging, a lot of long hours. We got the work done, and we were able to go have a really fun trip.
We were headed out of town, victorious, out of the garage.
Car was doing great. I couldn't have been happier with the car.
Between edge of Texas and beginning of Oklahoma, there was some construction. It was like the perfect storm of components into just the most massive pothole.
I had nowhere to go. There's a concrete retaining wall and another car, and I had no room to move. So we hit the pothole square on. After we picked our fillings back up and put them into our teeth,
We kept driving. I mean, we were focused on the car, drove about an hour and a half past the pothole until we started to smell burning rubber.
yeah, it was kind of this like simultaneous realization that stuff wasn't right. Pulled over and the tire was shredded. So we had bent the rim and created a slow leak. So we were losing air as we drove along. That stranded us on the side of the road for about 5 hours.
Wasn't altogether bad.
I got trucks to honk their horn by doing this. It was awesome. They played along well. It was great.
Yeah, we had some snacks,
Had
some
some snacks.
Cokes.
I think 5 different people pulled over to check on us. Like
Nice people in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's
Thank
got
you guys.
Yeah, thank you Oklahoma. You guys rock for making sure we were okay.
We went to the next town. We had to stay there overnight. It was a Sunday night and wait for a tire store to open up. Had my dad drive some spare tires we had here at the garage up to us in Oklahoma. Thank you, Dad. The next morning, we got new tire on the busted rim.
It was not easy to find a wheel locally and quickly. So we made the decision to just put the new tire on the bad rim. It held air well enough, but it did still slowly leak air. So we just were pulling over every hour or so, maybe tried 100 miles or so.
Every 60, 100 miles.
And we would check the air and make sure that there was plenty of air in the tire, and it would get down and we top it off. And we did that for 1,500 miles.
Which that added an interesting component to our journey, because with the Great American Road Tour, we were with 15 other vehicles. 57 was the oldest car.
Oldest there.
Old cars generally don't exactly keep up with new cars. It is a different experience driving an old car on Route 66.
What's not fair though is this thing actually goes faster than they did back in the day. Like this thing cruises
A
at
lot
70, no problem. It's just when you've got dudes in Corvettes that are cruising at 90, it's kind of hard to keep up.
Add to that higher miles per gallon and fuel tanks let them go between stops longer, between, needed to take a break at a gas station, while we needed to find a gas station that had air, which I'm gonna tell you, at least 50% of them either didn't have air altogether or their air machine was broken.
We even stopped at an automotive shop, a little shop, which was kind of cool though, because having to stop for air required us to get off the road and into these little towns, and we got to have some really fun interactions with a lot of the locals. Man, the car got a lot of love. Everywhere we go, people love this car. It just makes them smile. old cars for that reason, because it disarms a lot of people, and you can start actually just talking and having a nice conversation with someone without assuming they're trying to rob you or take something from you. You know, the car was great, got lots of love, saw lots of cool stuff, made it all the way through, kept up with the group. I think there's only one other thing that she did, and she is thirsty. We had to only add a quart of oil.
Thirsty girl.
8 times. She did like to drink, and we kept her fed.
Welcome to Kristin's Corner, where we look at your YouTube comments and talk back. First of all, TC asks, what happened to the Ford pickup project? That's a great question, TC. I'm glad you've been watching because we are building the 66 Ford F100. It's taking a long time because of me. I'm doing the body work on it. If any of you guys have ever done a full pickup body work, then you know why it's taking me so long. But I am still working on it, and as soon as I get the body work done on that, we will be putting that pickup back together because the chassis is ready, the engine is ready, and I'm ready to drive it. From our choosing a good project car, where we talked about our opinions, how to choose a good project car, and showed you guys our 1975 Bricklin. Bronx Bomb says, you can put gull wing doors on any car. Bronx Bomb, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Keeping up from the work that we did on it, let's kind of run down the line and talk about how that work paid off during the road trip. First biggest thing was adding the Classic Auto Air system.
The air conditioning was awesome. I cannot tell you how great it is to have air conditioning in a classic car on a road trip. There were times where most of the time we had the windows down, weather was pretty good, but when it would get hot or we're in traffic, we'd kick on the air, roll up the windows, and we were very, very comfortable. I'd actually like to take a minute to kind of talk about everything that was involved. I would say fairly easy to install. It requires drilling some holes, and that I would say is the hardest part, is really getting into these tight areas to drill a hole. In my case, I was actually able to take the car kind of apart and take the part off and drill the hole on the bench. But that might not always be an option. But as far as the install goes, it was very, very easy. You get the compressor, mount that onto the engine. The kit does not come with brackets for mounting the compressor to the engine, so you will need to come up with those on your own. But I had the brackets, got the compressor, mounted onto the engine, everything lined up perfect, bolted right in. It was the right compressor for the right brackets. From there, it was a matter of mounting the condenser in front of the radiator, which on a classic car, there's generally a lot of room up there, so that was fairly easy as well. Bent the brackets that were supplied with the kit, got everything mounted up real nice and positioned. From there, I took the receiver dryer and I mounted that actually up behind the headlight in the wheel well, so it's out of the engine bay, you don't even see it. Then the next big thing to mount is the evaporator blower assembly, which just simply goes up underneath the dash, and that's actually 2 holes drilled under the dash and it bolts right into place. That was the easiest part of the install, I think, was installing the evaporator inside the car. From there, once you've got your point A, B, C, and D lined up, it's just a matter of running the hoses through those holes you have to drill. The trickiest part of the whole install, I would say, is the crimping of the fittings onto the hose. It worked great. I loved it. It was the best addition to the car yet. Say my second favorite modification to the car was a working gas gauge. I cannot tell you how nice it is to know how much fuel is in your gas tank.
We've driven the car for years without a gas gauge, and it's just like, oh, every time you leave home, just go to the gas station first.
You know, if you think about it though, the tire actually helped us make sure there was always gas in the tank because we're constantly stopping for air. So it's like, top off the tank. Why not? We're here, right? Temp gauge worked great. Oil pressure gauge worked great. Voltmeter, all the gauges worked great except for the tach was getting a bad signal and bouncing around, and the speedo never got hooked up, so we never knew how fast we were
One thing
going.
we didn't get done. Doing a road trip after you've done modifications on your vehicle really gives you an ample opportunity to test out that work and to test the limits, see how things are working, very differently than 50-mile drive across town does.
I wanted to really have visibility as far as driving across country, especially at night. Wanted great headlights. The old school 7-inch halogens just aren't the best, so we got these really dope Oracle LED conversions. A lot of times you'll see these on Jeeps, but they fit also old cars quite nicely. Those worked out really well. Got those installed.
The headlights are great.
As far as like headlights, those are awesome. The halos are a little troublesome, but we'll work around it.
One thing will change. We did new tires.
Did new tires. I went with the Nitto INVOs, the 225 45 17s. There's a very particular reason I went with this tire rather than like the 555 G2s. The G2s is they're a directional tire, so that means that you're kind of locked into one side of the car with that tire as far as tire rotations. INVOs, however, are a asymmetrical tire, so they're an inner outer tire tread. So that means that once the tire's on the rim, it doesn't matter where you put it, you can rotate it around the car completely and it's not going to create any issues. So that's why I went with that. The idea was I have a tire blowout. My spare tire would be able to be put at any corner of the car. It wouldn't be limited to one side of the car for proper tread direction. So that was why I chose the INVOs over the G2s, is for that flexibility to have a spare tire that can go anywhere on the car. Normally though, this is a 555 G2 family. Like that's all we ever really put on the cars.
We love the G2.
The G2s are great. But the INVOs, I really actually like this tire quite a bit. I love how it looks on the car. It rode really nice, especially in the wet. It had really good traction because we saw some rain up in the hills and the car really did well. So I'm quite pleased with these tires. I think I'm a fan of these now. Nitto made a durable tire.
The tire held great.
Dude, we nursed that thing for 1,500 miles and we made it to our destination. I mean, we had to keep an eye on it, but that wasn't the tire's fault. That was the rim's fault. The tire itself, though, like got us where we needed to go.
It was a champ.
So yeah, like testimonial from the mountaintop.
We've put it through the paces.
The INVO is bad mofo.
The last big modification we did was the rear suspension.
Yeah, we did. We just changed the shocks, nothing crazy, but it really affected the car. I previously had the like helper coil shock that has like the assist spring. It looks like a coilover, but it's not a coilover. Everyone thinks they're not. It's a helper coil, right? Front of the car had Coney shocks, the Coney Red, the classics. So I decided I was going to put the same model on the back. Now the whole front to back, all four corners, it's a really tight ride. It's nice and stiff. And because we got rid of those helper coils, that actually naturally kind of lowered the car almost like 2 inches. So it helped with the stance a little bit as well. So those shocks really aided in giving the car a much stiffer, firmer, modern ride feel. It's not as mushy as you would imagine a classic car to be. So we've done this trip across country twice now, and every time we do it, we come back with, okay, now what else do we need to fix? The steering is a little loose, the doors need to be completely rebuilt, you know, the windows and the hand cranks. So it's like all this work we do to move forward, right? It all works.
More work.
But then there's other things that need to be addressed. 1,500 mile, 3,000 mile shakedown really draws them to your attention. In conclusion, I would like to say that we had a very, very good trip. It was a lot of work, a lot of stress, but we made it happen and I had a great time and I would totally do it again. If anything, I plan on doing it again.
We do.
We do.
And I want to say thank you to Mel Wade for organizing the American Road Tour, and of course Nitto Tire for helping make it all happen. And thank you to Driving Line and Nitto Tire for sponsoring these extra good videos, and be sure to subscribe to Driving Line so you get more extra good stuff from us. And also, we always love it when you like and comment. Leave a comment, tell us, have you gone on Route 66? What did you drive? We want to hear from you. We'll see you next time.
Don't crash.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.